what you know about this one. She grew up in Houston, Texas, and once the drum bug bit her big time, she landed at Howard University in Washington, D.C. to get her music degree. Her name is Cora Coleman, or as we like to call her, CC, or Queen Cora Coleman. Her amazing drum talent saw her become the first female section leader of Howard's Thunder Machine drum section. She earned the school's first Avita Zildjian Scholarship for Outstanding Percussionist. She followed that up by winning the 2003 annual National Drum-Off Competition for Guitar Center. November of 2004, she was playing drums for the keyboardist slash singer Frank McComb's band. Through Sheila E.'s bass player, Prince and the jazz singer Rochelle Farrell were invited to an LA club to see the show. Prince was immediately taken by Cora on drums. He asked to meet her. He got her contact information, and on Christmas, he sent her a custom 8-piece birch spider pine gold trim DW drum set. Now, for you that don't know, DW is one of the top drum sets in the drum kingdom. Every manufacturer has their top end line. The DW line start at the top. All their shit is like incredible. So he saw this woman one time, loved her, and he basically sent her between an $8,000 and $10,000 drum set. Like it wasn't nothing. Yo, Prince, what about your boy? What you do for your boy? But that was in 2004. In 2005, Prince put together a band to mainly play at his 3121 house parties. Basically, he rented a house in L.A. The house actually belonged to the basketball player, Carlos Buzos, whose son is probably going to be drafted, if not number one, this year out of Duke. Okay, and he's got two sons. I say triplets, but two of his sons play at Duke, but really the one is the star. So good for you, my man, Carlos. But he put together this 3121 house band, if you will, and Cora became the drummer for that band. She basically worked with Prince literally from 2005 up to 2010. If you saw any of those live television performance shows, like, when he went to like the Jimmy Fallon, Tonight Show, any of those type shows, anywhere where it was a performance, not like a tour, but when it was like a performance type thing, Cora was the drummer that you would see sitting on the kit at those shows. As I said, she was with him for like a strong 5-year run. And as far as his studio albums, you can hear her on 3121. You can hear her on Planet Earth, Indigo Nights, which is like I want to say it's from the, almost like he did the 21 Nights at London. And you can also hear her on Lotus Flower. And if you want to hear what Cora does and what she sounds like, I would encourage you to listen to the track Fury off 3121, where you can feel her groove. It's like a straight up rocker, and she is killing it. And once again, Prince had found a drummer who could fit seamlessly into his demanding world of live performances without missing a beat. Cora's skill, her diverse skill, I should say, because she had a marching band background, she had a drum set background, and she had percussion skills all in her tool bag that she could grab from, and that allowed Prince to take songs in different directions because she could hang tough in any genre. Didn't matter. And as a matter of fact, not just a drummer, she also has composed music of her own, and Prince would even play her song Mind in 7 on gigs to give her like his personal nod, saying how much he appreciated her. And let's not get it twisted, because just like my mama, her name is Cora. So you already know I'm going to love me some her. Do not get it twisted. Now, we move into 2012 to 2015. And just like we do, Prince would sit around and watch YouTube. As you're watching me now, right? And he discovered this girl drummer. Her name is Hannah Ford. Hannah Ford Welton or Hannah Welton Ford, depending. I would say it would be Hannah Ford Welton because Welton is a married name. Ford is her maiden name. So he saw her on YouTube. And when he did his Welcome to America tour, he called it Welcome to Chicago. So whatever city he would call it that city. So Welcome to Chicago. He did a 3-show residency. And he asked her to come out. And she played on the residency with Prince. Then he asked her to find a female guitarist because he wanted to put together a trio. And Hannah, along with her husband, Joshua Welton, they did like Prince. They scoured YouTube and they found Donna Grantis. There was a female bass player, Ida Nielsen, who had been playing in Prince's MPG band since October of 2010. And she was the only member who had previous experience playing with Prince. Well, in 2012, Prince put them together, the 3 girls, Donna on guitar, Ida on bass, and Hannah on drums. And he called them Third Eye Girl. And he fronted them. So it'd be the girls with Prince. And they started touring in 2013. In 2014, the band released the album Plectrum Electrum. It was sort of like Prince, as I said, fronting an all-girl power rock trio. And the album is surprisingly good with quite a few standout tracks on it. I play it all the time. You know, Girl Power, Funk and Roll, Pretzel Body Logic. Oh, wow. It's amazing. The instrumental track, which I always wanted Prince to do an instrumental rock jam, it's the title of the album, Plectrum Electrum. So, and that was written predominantly by Donna, the guitar player. So, how did Hannah land into this chair? Well, she started out playing in her dad's blues band in Chicago when she was around 12 years old. Then she went to the Chicago College of Performing Arts to hone her skills. And she was solid. She was in that pocket. She could lock on the groove. She could play double bass. So when Prince wanted to show off with the, like a real hardcore power trio, she was not flashy. She wasn't over the top. She simply solidified the bottom. She allowed Donna and Prince to wail on dueling guitars over the top. Ida kept the bass anchored to the rhythm. And between the two of them, they just kept that groove on the track. Now, she may not have had a long run with Prince, but she got a chance to tour with and play for Prince, gaining her access into the kingdom. And I think we have to give an honorable mention because this gentleman slid into the Prince camp for just a little bit. His name is Chris Coleman. He is no relation to Cora Coleman, but folks may remember him from Puff Daddy's Shh, I know, right? But he was a part of Puff Daddy's Making the Band. And I think he was the runner-up to the drummer that made the band before Chris got eliminated. And oh my God, they knew not what they had because Chris turned himself into a beast behind the drum kit. When you think of like those gospel shed tracks, that's Chris. He has the ability to blaze around the kit. He has incredible technique. Everything he does is so clean and crisp with clarity, with precision, with speed. And it's the way he thinks it out of how he's doing it. He's unmatched because he truly has developed his own style. Now, we did not get to see much, if any, footage of Chris playing with Prince, but we believe that's his drum sound all over the 2010 Welcome to America album. Because just like with Third Eye Girl, Prince is on YouTube again, and he found this female bass player from Australia who was working her way through the States. Her name is Miss Tal Wickenfield. He found her on YouTube, and he brought her to Los Angeles to jam with. And once again, he wanted to do a trio project, so he asked her to find a drummer. And they settled on Chris when they saw him. Tal said they were not given hardcore direction. It was basically, here's my chord ideas, here's the structure. There were no lyrics, no song ideas. So just kind of jump in and play what you feel, and we'll see what comes of it. Once Prince got what he liked from them, he brought in the MPG singers. Those would be his girls. Liv Warfield, saw her. She turned it out. If you get a chance to go see Liv's solo performance, go check her out. You got Shelby Johnson. Shelby, another star in the making. She needs to be out there doing her own solo work. And rounding it out was Elisa Fiorella. So they sang leads, they sang harmonies, they sang with him, they sang behind him as he sang leads. Then Prince grabbed his longtime keyboardist, Mr. Morris Hayes. He added some textures, and Morris even put together some string arrangements. And by virtue of that, Prince gave him co-credit on 6 of the 12 album tracks. The album was completed, and then they essentially put it on the shelf for 11 years, not to be heard from. They actually did release a single, Hot Summer, on June 7, 2010, which was Prince's 52nd birthday. That's usually you release a single and now you start the promotion and then you release the album. Nope. 11 years that album sat on the shelf, and it was released posthumously on July 30th, 2021, which is shocking. Not because it took them 11 years to release it. Let me tell you why. Because he did a Welcome to America tour. It started late 2010. And a matter of fact, in my area code, he did 6 shows. He did 2 at the Izod starting in December. And he did 4 shows at Madison Square Garden from December through February of 2011. I attended a show in New Jersey and a show in New York because I wanted to see how different that energy would hit in the different buildings. And you know, Madison Square Garden is the world-class mecca, so there's always going to be a little bit different energy there. Both shows were lit, but you want to know what? We didn't even know that there was a Welcome to America album of the same name as the tour. Normally, you do an album, you release the singles. Once they get some traction, then you do a tour in support of that album. Prince did the Welcome to America tour with no album and never released it. Who does that? Prince Rogers Nelson. So when we saw the tour, he didn't play not one song from that album during the tour. And it's actually a good album. So we can only judge Chris on the performances he delivered on the album, as the drum sounds are super crispy across multiple cuts. Peep jams like Check the Record, Same Page, Different Book, and 1010 Ren 1010. There's a couple of ballads on there, but because they're slow and, he's not really doing, but it's the sound. The sound is amazing, but you don't get to hear him really kind of move around the kit and do his thing. So probably only Chris and Tal can tell you exactly what songs they feel they played on, because between Prince himself playing and drum machine programming, it's a daunting task for us outsiders to know 100% for certain, okay? And this next guy is, in my opinion, probably the most intriguing drummer on the list, and that is Kirk Johnson. Kirk landed in the Prince camp way back in the Purple Rain days. He even had a part in Purple Rain as a dancer in the film. So that was how we originally saw Kirk. We didn't know he had musical skills. because he was a dancer, a choreographer, a percussionist, a drummer, a producer, a music director. He was like the manager of some of Prince's enterprises. He was a bodyguard for Prince. And over those years, he became one of Prince's most trusted confidants. And people probably don't think that Kirk could handle being in the drum chair because we all slept on him. But there are some great clips of Kirk playing drums, especially at those classic Prince after shows when he would do a concert and then show up somewhere 2, 3 in the morning, then rock the house till 6 in the morning. Kirk was on quite a few of those. I believe there's one in London, if I'm not mistaken, in particular, with the balconies and like small stage with curtains and oh my God, they are killing it. And Kirk is back there he's wailing. So, hey man, kudos. As I said, he's been around Prince literally like 30 years. So he was the drummer for MPG, I should say, on and off from like 1996 through 1999. Then it was 2000 to 2002. Then he took a longer break, and then he was there at the end from 2015 to 2016. He played on the studio records as either a percussionist or a drummer, Diamonds and Pearls, The Gold Experience, which I think would be one that I probably can hear a sound on, Emancipation, and Chaos and Disorder. I said distorter? Disorder. Chaos and Disorder. Whew. Need something to drink, bro. And I don't mean water. His style would be considered as a funk-based drummer with that Minneapolis vibe. And when you have your major cities, New York, LA, Atlanta, Chicago, New Orleans, Nashville, there's a sound that comes from there when you're born in that water. And Kirk has that Minneapolis vibe in his playing. He had his own band and he released his own product, but it will always be his association with Prince that we will all remember because he was basically with Prince right up to the day he died. I think he was the one who actually found Prince and made the 911 calls to get everything going because what a way, what a way to go. And if you really want to take it to a level to want to understand Kirk's place in Prince's life, he was the best man at Prince's first wedding when he got married to Mai Tai. So I am sure outside of, his own family, nobody felt Prince's death as hard as Kirk did because they truly seemed to be running partners right up till the day Prince died. And what about Prince? Because Prince is a multi-instrumentalist. And if you go back to his first 3 records, the first album was For You, the second album was self-titled Prince, and the third album was Dirty Mind. Go back and listen to those records and listen to Prince play drums. Oh, God. And especially on the Prince album, his second album, Sexy Dancer, I Want to Be Your Lover, Bambi, I Feel For You. Listen to those grooves that he's playing down. And on his first record, the last jam on side 2, I'm Yours, is a funk workout. Everybody knows the big hit, Soft and Wet, and they probably can't name anything else off that album. He had a couple of bangers on there that you need to go back and revisit. Now that you know who Prince became, go back and see where he started from. And then all through his career. Okay? Because remember, he was a songwriter, he was a performer, he was a producer, he was an engineer across the bulk of his career. On the early stuff, he played all the drums himself to truly express himself in his art fully. Prince is a funky drummer with a pop feel. His Midwest roots probably served him well, allowing him to absorb multiple styles across the country instead of being from New York and having that New York slickness, that LA laid back feel. he's in the middle of the country and all those things came his way. So he didn't have to go travel. It came to him and it let him to marry that to any particular style he was trying. And I also believe that because it was his songs, Prince in the drum chair played drums more like a songwriter than a drummer would. Because the drummer is thinking about playing the parts to fit the songs, and Prince is thinking about how the drums are inside his song, because he knows when I say this line, I want that. When I go to this front, I want to lift it here. And I think that's the way his drumming is. And what is his greatest gifts? He married the acoustic drums with incredible drum machine program, especially in many of his biggest hits. His biggest hits with that incredible drum machine, he was the master of that. He would take those separate outs, run it through pedals, slow it down, delay, echo, reverb, you know. He was just killing it, pitching drums up, pitching them down, whatever he needed to do to get to the sound that he heard in his head. So he drumming to him was an essential part of his kaleidoscope of music. And if I think of Prince, you know, as Prince, the band leader, I think he wanted drummers who had a strong sense of groove. They had to have a nice foot to put that little thump on the stuff, especially them up-tempo jumpers. And he wanted drummers who were sensitive to the music so that all the extra little things that he was doing and putting in the music could come through as necessary. And although Prince changed the lineups of his bands over the years, the two standout guys over that arc of his time is still Michael B. and John Blackwell. Michael B. because, as I said, he was the Prince's most recorded studio drummer, and John Blackwell because he was the drummer who toured with Prince the most. Prince going to tour, he called up John, let's go, pack your suitcase, we out. So I hope that gave you a feel of the drummers of Prince across the arc of his career, because he just had so much music to get out, and he had to use the multitude of folks to make that happen. His original drummer was Bobby Z. We discovered him through the Revolution. Next up was Sheila E., and she came in right around that before Sign of the Times hit, and she just took the band to the next level. And then Michael B. showed up as a part of New Power Generation, you know, from like 1989 to 96. Lethal. This man is he is one of my favorite drummers delivering Prince's music. And then John Blackwell came along. He didn't do as much studio work as what he did tour work. Now, I'm quite sure Prince bring him in the studio and did some work with him, but John was always out on the road, just bringing Prince's music to the masses and making you go home and tell your friends you just saw the most incredible show of your life. He brought Queen Cora Coleman into the mix, and I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, you know, Cora also played with Beyonce. You know, she was a part of that dual girl drum thing, because I think at one point it was Nikki, it was a girl Kim, and then I think Kim left and Cora came in. So she has the chops to deliver the goods. And I'm just talking about the high profile people. She's played with some of the next tier people also to get her sound out there. Here comes the next woman, Hannah Welton Ford. Prince was wonderful with his ladies because he gave women opportunities that maybe a lot of other male musicians would not. And Hannah came in, he built a whole girl group around her. So now, not just Hannah on drums, but he got two other girls and Prince out front fronting them. They called themselves Third Eye Girl. They dropped the seminal record Plectrum Electrum in 2014. And if you ain't up on that, you need to go get that so you can really understand Prince's eclecticness of how he's trying to deliver his sound. And Chris Coleman, he was just there for a minute, but because he was similar to that Welcome to America album, he has to be mentioned because that's him all over that record. And we would be remiss if we didn't speak about Chris sitting in Prince's drum chair. And then, as I said, last but by no means least, because he's been there equally as long as anybody else, but he wasn't always the drummer. Kirk Johnson, who wore a multitude of hats in Prince's world and was there all the way up to the end. But Kirk also was a drummer in Prince's, universe. And then, as I said, it was the man himself. One of the great Prince tracks that you could listen to is Get the Parade album. And I want to say it's literally like the first 3 or 4 songs. It might not be the actual first one. It might be like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4, 5, because I can't remember the titles in my head. I have to go look at the album. But Prince literally walked into the studio, told him to put the tape up, and he played straight through, like 3, 4 songs in a row. Now, most of them ain't long. They're probably about 2.5. The longest might be about 3 minutes. But he played the whole thing. Sat down, he had the whole theme in his head, played it, then he came back and overdubbed and put all the other music on it. And I want to say the engineer might have been Susan Rogers or it was Peggy McCready, one of those. They were flabbergasted. They said they seen him do a lot of things, but that was different, okay? And I touched on it briefly, but I want to say it again. What Prince did for the women in his group, in his world, not just his group. Because first he had the keyboardist Gail Chapman, then he replaced her with Lisa. So then he had Wendy and Lisa in the band. Then he, I can't even go through all the women he's had, bass players. He's had Rhonda, he's had Ida, he's had, oh Lord, slipping. Guitar players. I remember not Kat the dancer. There was another woman, Kat Dyson, I think her name is. Oh my God, just amazing. He brought the ballerina, Misty Copeland, into his world to put her on stage so she could have access to crowds that would never see her, okay? And then the engineers, as I said, my favorite is Miss Susan Rogers. She was there through the arc where his music was just, where he was in his zone, where he was just banging them out. She had a front row seat to that. So just amazing, man. So that's my take on the drummers of Prince. I hope that gives you a little insight, a little more thought process into the reasons why I truly dig this man. I just like his vision. I love his music. I love his style. I love his fashion. I love his fearless thought process. You couldn't tell him he couldn't do something. He was fearless because he would just go do it. You weren't going to stop him. He didn't care what you thought about it because if he believed that he could do it, well, in his mind, he was going to do it. So I hope you enjoyed that as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Prince's death. As I said, hate the fact that he's not here, but I understand how the universe works. Our job is not to question the reasons why. Our job is to keep it moving and then move on in the things that we do so that hopefully when we are called home, we can feel that we also did a good work and left that legacy behind as Prince did. Because I think every one of those drummers would tell you they were blessed to have crossed paths with that man. That's all I got for you. It's another Prince thought with Brother AJ in full effect doing what I do best. Love it, and I'll see you on the next go-round. Bye-bye.